Hello YouTube and welcome to Allie's Wonderland Creations. I'm Alice Seraphin and I'm a Stampin' Up! Demonstrator in the United States. Today's video is a 2-card video. I'm going to make it into a series because I really like this process. I've done a couple others, excuse me, but this one I'm going to say is my first because I really put a lot of thought into these 2 cards. So I'm calling the series Simple to Stunning. This is card number 1. It's featuring the ocean front stamp set in the current mini catalog. Can you see all of that on there? Okay, so this is featuring it, but the additional stamps I'm using is I'm using some sentiments because this one has no sentiments or sayings. I'm using Love You to the Beach and Back, and You Are Amazing, You Are Unique and Completely Amazing. So I'm going to set those aside because I already have everything mounted. And then I'm using, I was looking at my card and I'm like, oh, it's missing a little something in this one area. So I decided to pull these 3 birds from Sailing Home. So, and as you can see, all of the amount, the order numbers, M is for mini, A is for annual. We also will be using the gorgeous, probably should put something underneath this so you guys can see it a little better. That's not going to work, is it? I don't know if that's any better, but it's the Seashell 3D embossing folder. So I'm setting that aside because I've already prepped for that. All right, next whiteboard, because I had quite a bit on here. This is listing all of my cardstock, which is some basic white, Coastal Cabana gray granite, soft suede, pear pizzazz, basic blue, and cinnamon cider. You know what? I just realized those are my ink colors. Cardstock. Let's see. Let me erase some of this here. Sorry, y'all. I used basic white Coastal Cabana. I did not use any gray granite cardstock. Use soft suede, no pear pizzazz. So let's erase that one. Cinnamon cider, no. There you have it. So I didn't need all that up there. So cardstock, basic white, Coastal Cabana, soft suede, and balmy blue. My inks, however, are the Coastal Cabana, balmy blue, soft suede, cinnamon cider, pear pizzazz, and gray granite. The tools I'm using are a whole bunch of blocks. You want to see how, you want to talk about stamping or stamping today. So we're using a couple of sponge daubers, some snips, some envelopes, of course, adhesives, dimensional, Wink of Stella, and a water pen. So before I go any farther, I need to get, I want to put down my Post Pals. It's a card exchange group, and you join by going to Allie's Wonderland Creations at gmail.com. This is an email only group, okay? And this email address is only for this card exchange group. It's a monthly card exchange group where I will email out a list of names that are wishing to participate. The only requirement is it has to be a handmade card. So a handmade card, products of your choice, handmade card, and you must mail at least 1 card to someone on the list. Okay? I personally plan on mailing a card to everybody who joins. I've already prepped that. And I have more cards. It's going to, the list will post on April 2nd, and it's for the month, and it's a great way to give a little love out there, share your creative ideas in your card making with other paper crafters. I just, you know, I don't want to do the typical card exchange where it's either a card front or you don't write in the card or you have to write and there's things, you know, regulations here or whatever. This is an all-out card exchange. As long as it's handmade, you can mail it. And I invest a lot of money in stamps. I mail to the other side of the world. I don't mind. So if you're, you know, in Europe or wherever on the other side of the world, join. Send me your name and your address and you'll be on the list and you'll be receiving cards once a month. So you can opt out of a month if you send me, say, look, I don't want to be on the list this month. That's okay. You can keep it up or do whatever you want. I'm just trying to spread a little love out there. So let's get rid of this whiteboard and let me show you our projects. Okay, I kind of wanted to keep that one. Let's see. Card number 1. You can see I have all my things prepped here. These are our supplies for card number 1. Very simple stamping on this card. Very flat. These little rocks we did fussy cut, but they're not on dimensionals. Very simple stamping, very easy to do. But the wow factor continues to the inside. Isn't that gorgeous? I just love that. So our envelope is as such. Love you to the beach and back, our little birds. So this is card number 1. Those are my supplies. This, however, is the stunning version of this card. And on this card, we used a balmy blue. We did emboss it with the seashell embossing folder, but we also did the seashell embossing folder on some Coastal Cabana. Soft suede, our basic white, our 3 little birds. We Wink-a-Stella'd only the water, just the water, okay? That's all I wanted to be shiny. This is a piece of little cheap jute twine that I had. And I'll be showing you how I did this. And so in the inside of the card is the same. I'll show you. And there's the gorgeous embossing. Okay, so let's get started with card number 1. Trying to move that aside. Now, what you will need, of course, you need an envelope, which we will do our envelopes. Oh, I just realized that is something I didn't get out. I need envelopes for the new cards. I had them. Let's see. There we have it. 2 envelopes. We will be doing those last. So, what you will need. You will need, we're going to do this card base in balmy blue. So, Coastal Cabana or balmy blue. I wanted to see what the difference was. This is cut at 4.5 by 11, just a half a sheet of cardstock. Hot dog style, as I've heard it called. We will need a piece. Let me look on my measurements. The measurement sticker is on the other ones that are inside the other card. So if you want to do all of these projects, I will be having everything you need for both cards on my blog on April 2nd or 3rd. It will launch because I've got quite a bit of stuff I need to type up to get it started. So you will need a piece of cardstock for the inside that's 3 4/16 by 4 1/4. And the reason why I chose this side is these are scrap pieces and I got a stack of them like this left over for some Easter cards I did. So that's that measurement. For the outside of the card, you need a piece of cardstock that's 3 1/4 by 4 3/4. And our soft suede, it looks like it says 3 3/8 by 4 5/8. So those are our pieces. There's no embossing needed on this. However, something I forgot to mention is the majority of these stamps are polymer, so it's great to have some cushioning. A bit of fun foam would work. This is the Stampin'Up Stampin' Pierce mat, which is awesome. And I'm looking for my sheet of paper. I wanted to show you all my process. This started out when I was first creating this. I thought, oh, I'm going to make me a shaker card. I have yet to do one for the video. and didn't make it there because it totally changed it. And that's what is so wonderful about this process. And I hope you enjoy me showing you my thought process and how I work things out. So here I was just lightly stamping on my scratch paper kind of how I wanted things to be. I tried different colored inks where I wanted the rocks placed. I tried over here, I circled, you know, yes, soft suede, stamped off. Coastal Cabana for the water, balmy blue for the sky. Then I said, okay, I like this stamped off. I scratched out no. I stamped, you know, okay, stamp off. Stamp on a scrap and fussy cut. Circling, making notes to myself as I went along. And I tried, oh, crumb cake for the little sand dots. And so anyways, that is my creative process. And it says, show this process. So I have. And I'm not getting a clean piece of paper because that would just be wasteful. But we are going to stamp both the inside and the outside pieces of basic white for this card. And let me stick my little note there. Get out our stamps, and we're going to need this big image, which I call the sky. This looks like I got something on there, a piece of paper or something. This is my water image, and the first three things we're going to stamp are these three images. So the sky, the water, and what I call the sand dune. So I'm going to run that through my stamp chamois here, cleaning chamois, just making sure. Yeah, and of course I got a stamp stuck to it. So first we're starting with the sky, and that is in balmy blue. So let's open this up. Not sure I like this camera placement. Trying to... Okay, let me just bring the ink like this so you guys can see. Okay, now, and you'll see it almost gets darker down here, and I chose that to be like the horizon line. And I brought it up very high to the top of the card base, the white piece, for the outside of a card. See how it just got darker, this distinctive image stamp? So we're going to do that again. This one is for the inside. You can see the difference in it. So I'm bringing that almost exactly to the top. All right, so I'm going to set that stamp aside because we'll be using it again. But for now, for this card, we're done with balmy blue. Next, we're going to bring in Coastal Cabana. I have an older pad here, but it's still the same type of pattern, just the casing. So I'm inking it up. Now I want the water to be receding this way, and I want the very top edge of this to come right in here, so they're blending. And this one, I do have to bring the card down a bit so I can really see it. And I can, just at the very edge, I can see that balmy blue through this image, and that's where I stamp. I'm not sure if you can see it, but you will. Do you see this? Do you? You can't answer right now. Okay, right there. That's making my horizon line. So we're going to ink this up again. And we are going to do it the same thing, looking to make sure these two stamped images meet slightly. There we have it. So I'm going to set that image stamp aside, close up the Coastal Cabana, and bring in the cinnamon cider. And this is our sand dune. And I chose to go with this darker cinnamon cider just for the contrast color. People might say, that is not the color of sand. Well, for me, it is, because I just like the look of it. So now this one, I'll be honest, right here it bothers me because it doesn't quite line up, but I know that's the look. So I go in and I kind of fix it a wee bit. So I'm doing the same thing. I want just the top edge of my stamp to come in there. So I'm gonna do, hopefully get it right. Let's see. And you're gonna see this right there kind of bothered me. So what I did is I turned the stamp around, and I really should use, what did I use? Oh, some scratch note paper here. And I just dabbed the stamp in there a bit, trying to fill that in. And I know that sounds kind of crazy of me, but I just, there. To me, that works now. So this is all we need for the inside of our card. We'll probably stamp the sand down there when we get to that point, but we don't have that stamp out. So let's repeat this process going this way. Here we go. And you can see right there, I'm not worried about this because I'm going to be filling that in with grasses. So I'm going to ink up the very tip of this, stamp off, and just come in and look what I did. Okay, let's turn it over and start again. That's what happens with stamping, but there's always two sides to the paper. Oh, that's not how I wanted it to go, but we will redo this. Let's start again. Balmy blue. Where you can see it's darker, that's where we are going to do our horizon line. I always think to myself, well, that wasn't meant to be, you know? It was meant to be flipped over and meant for me to stamp it again. Maybe this time I won't get so much ink on the edge of my stamp. So, not that way. We want it this way. We want the edge of the water coming down to our right. So we're going to put that to where the two meet. There we have it. Looks good. Now let's get the sand dune, as I call it. Let's get this image working, and we're going to clean that off of our stamp. It's an old handkerchief. So we're inking it up. And this time I'm going to be quite careful. There we have it. Now, ooh, right there you can, I really missed that. Now we can do one of two things to fix that. I could come back in like so, and I think we will. That's what we're going to do. Okay, I am going to place this like so, because I don't want any of my ink on that white part. Stamp off. There. That will work. It will, trust me, it's going to work. With everything else I'm stamping in that corner, that's going to be good to go. So, next on our imagery for this card, we are stamping the grasses. Let's see. That's for the envelope. This is for our rocks. I'm trying to get to the grasses. So, next part is this little image stamp here is for the sand. This is grass, this is grass. Now for these, we're using soft suede in first and second generation stamping, which first is, let's move those aside, I'll show you. First generation is just like this. Second generation is a fancy way of saying stamp and then stamp it off and then stamp again. So we're going to do both of those here on this. And bringing it right to the edge. I want a few of those going off, but I want most of these going into the water area. So I stamped, and now I am stamping again without re-inking. I just want to give it some shadows, and now we're going to bring it, I was almost stamping off. We're going to bring it down a bit like so. And stamping, I just don't want it directly on there. There we have it. Now, we're going to ink it up. This is for the right side of it, right here. We are stamping off and then doing the second generation stamping. I wanted that lighter on that side. So let me set my, that is all for the soft suede for the outside of this card. Whereas my Pear Pizzazz now, really layering these colors, it gives it a great look. This little grassy stamp is going to fill in around here. And we're going to do first and second generation stamping, as they call it, or stamping and stamping off. I am bringing this just slightly above the bottom of the other stamp. And I'm just going over like so. And this one down here is going to be covered, so it really doesn't need it, but we're going to do it just to go. And this one we are stamping off. Stamping off first, see what you like. I did end up going in, and in the middle I put a dark one, like so. So that is our Pear Pizzazz ink. Okay. Oh, it was soft suede again. I was like, oh, okay, I'm missing an ink. But no, we use soft suede instead of crumb cake. That's right. So here we go. For these little pebblies looking sand, we are stamping off, stamping your ink. And then I brought them up, and it almost has this like L shape. And make sure you stamp off. And I stamped. I went too far. I wanted to leave a tiny white edge, but that's okay. We will go with it. And I just went around the edge of my sand dune. Oops, I didn't get quite all the ink off of that image, but that's okay. And filling it in. I do some cool stuff on the other one, really making it look like a sandy beach. I really have had a great time with this stamp in this stamp set. So we are all finished, and I just put my hand in a whole bunch of soft suede. Set that stamp aside. Next, we needed scratch paper. And as you know, my scratch paper, scraps of paper, are kept. Oh, this is card bases. I don't want the card bases. I want my scrap sheets. So this is why. You see, I have a whole bunch of these stacked. So, yeah, that will work. We are going to stamp and fussy cut out our rocks. And I mounted these on paper pumpkin. And so here we go. Gray granite, there's one. We just need one of each. Now for the next card, I already have these cut out. So I'm going to set that way over there because I don't need that stamp anymore. But wanted to show you how easy these are to cut. And take your snips and just leave a very small edge of white. I think the smaller the better, but it does not need to be perfect. As you can see, I'm getting smaller as I go around the top. And then I just realized this is Thick Whisper White. It's not cutting. I'm like, oh yeah, that's why it felt heavier. So there's our one. Takes no time at all to cut these out. And let's go around that. This is why I save my scraps like I do, because you can always use them for stamping little things or punching, doing sentiments. Okay. There we have it. We're gonna keep that over there. Okay, now let's get to gluing. So I just simply brought them like so and glued them down. So glue the larger boulder behind the smaller one. And we want it to be just about like so. A little bit more there to come down. Now, do you see it just looked like it was missing something. And this is where the little birds from Sailing Home comes into place. That's why I waited. Here we go. Gray granite. Now, I will tell you, be careful not to push because I got little halo going on my other images. So this one I'm putting up in the upper right hand corner, and it's beautiful. Ta-da! And we're not doing that on the inside. What did I use for the inside of the card? I'm going to have to look. I think, yes, it was soft suede is what goes on the inside image of our card. So let's go ahead and stamp that. So this is the outside. Here's the inside. It says, me and, you know, if you don't get ink on you, you're not stamping right, I guess. Okay. You are unique and completely amazing. And I think that's just absolutely beautiful. Ooh, we forgot to do the sand. Oh, and we used soft suede, so we can just stamp off. We want to, and this time we're not going to bring it down all the way. Just along the edge. There we have it. Now it looks better. So this is the inside. Our outside, let's put it on our piece of soft suede. Here we go. Like I said, that's very simple stamping, and it's just layering. Just a wee bit of fussy cutting. Nice, simple, gorgeous card. It wouldn't cost more than 1 postage stamp to mail. And the reason why it's so narrow and not a normal is just because of the imagery of the stamp. I thought there was so much white. So I just couldn't do it like some other cards. So change it up a bit. Okay, come on, my little bottle. There we go. Da-da-da. And our first simple card number 1 of our ocean front in our Simple to Stunning series is done. Now, if you had if you wanted to use Wink of Stella, go ahead and use it on the water. I chose not to do it on this particular one because it is a simpler card, but it is nonetheless every bit as beautiful. And I love that on the inside we have this beautiful stamped image going on that coincides with the front. So card number 1 is complete. I really need to be more careful with my location of my things in camera view. Let's get started with card number 2. Card number 2 it's got a bit of detail going on with it. Let me get my stamps loaded up again. We're going to first need our Coastal Cabana Balmy Blue and my Cinnamon Cider. We won't be using this till the end of this, so let's put that up. And let me show you a look at our card. Okay, this is up on dimensionals and it's very roughed around the image. This is where the water pen comes in. So let's get started. I'm setting that up in front of me so it doesn't hopefully get ruined. So the inside of the card is 3 4/16 by 4 1/4. We're going to be stamping that. This is the outside piece. It's the same measurement. And like I said, the reason for that is it just turned out I had a whole stack of these cut. This soft suede piece is 3 3/8 by 4 7/8. And I'm putting the envelope aside. Where is my Balmy Blue card base for this card? Oh, it's inside the other. I'm like, okay. So, embossing folder. You want to take your Some people say, oh, that's upside down, but most of it's going to cover it up. It's just the texture we're getting. So I stuck this in the embossing folder, ran it through the machine, embossed it. I did the same thing to a piece of Coastal Cabana. Now, you can see on the cards that these Coastal Cabanas are different, and that's because I wanted to cut it down and do my roughing up on the edges. So we'll get to that in a minute, but those two need to be ran through the embossing folder for this card. Now let's stamp. Set that aside. First, Balmy Blue for our sky. And like I said, we're going to do both stamps. I'm trying to figure out where to put my ink pad. We'll do one at a time. With the Balmy Blue, I didn't clean them off yet. And like I said, when you look at it, you can see that there's this little dark edge there. And that's the edge we want facing us. And I want to bring it down some because we're going to be roughing the edges. All right, there's one. Let's do one more. One for the outside, one for the inside. Scoot over the bit. Okay. Next, I'm going to set that pad all the way over there because I believe we are completely done with it. Coastal Cabana is next. Our water image. Ink and stamp. And we want the water going. The slant going towards the right. Oops. I do not want... I got a little bit of Coastal Cabana right there. I don't want that getting on my paper. And we want to just put it tiny bit into the sky to give us like a horizon line. And we have it. Next. This stamp is so wonderful. If you really love to stamp, this is your stamp set because it's so much stamping. It's so fun. Coastal Cabana is now done for the moment. We will be coming back to it. I'm going to set it aside. That image is done now. We're bringing in our sand dune. And we're going in with the cinnamon cider. Like so. I'm not going to worry about that little spot on these. Let it be, let it be. Okay. There we go. All done. Now for this card, you will want to take this and stamp it on a piece of scrap paper, and do one more sand dune and fussy cut it out. So I have already done that. So all you do is bring your paper in, stamp it, cut that image out. And that's all for cinnamon cider. Now, let's bring our images in. We need to do our sand, which we know our sand little dots are in the soft suede. So we'll do one at a time. Let's see. Stamping off always. And like I said, it has that little L that kind of goes in there. But wait till you see how we blend this in. And I am doing, this one does come all the way down the paper. I'm going to need that. And just, well, let's go ahead and do that. Let's take our water pen. Make sure your tip is good and wet. Let me see if I have ink in the top of this. Yes, you can already see where I was doing it yesterday. So I swirl this around. I want it real light, so I'm going to put a big drop of water in there. Making kind of my own paint, if you will. And I'm simply going to drag this now in there and lightly color it and it gives it that kind of sandy look. And I'm bringing it all the way out to the edges. And while I'm doing this, I am going to go along this edge here really well with the water pen, getting it good and wet because I'm going to tear it. Okay, so I'm tearing it just ever so slightly, and I do mean ever so slightly, but using the water pen or a very small paintbrush, which I do have used, it tears beautifully and it gives you that little edge that you want. And believe it or not, we're going to use this piece. Now I'm coming back in with my water brush, and I want to go over those edges of where I tore, blending them in. No real technique, just running it over there. Okay, so we are now done. Oh, let me see. What did I do? I want to make sure I repeat the inside. No sand on this one, but we're going to add it to this one for the inside. This is our outside piece that we tore. This one needs some sandy pebbles. We're not going to do any blending. Where's my little image stamp? Here. This one just needs a little bit in there. Real light. And I do mean light, stamped off a couple of times. There we have it. And since we have this out, we know that our saying, our sentiment, is stamped in soft suede. And you'll have to, I hear somebody on the back porch. Hopefully they do not come in. Okay, so this is for the inside of a card. I'm setting that way up there so nothing else happens to it since it's so pretty. Closing up our soft suede pad, and we are done with that. Clean that off. That one's done. Bringing back my basic white, which is stamped. I am cleaning off my water brush because we're going to be using it again. This time we are coming in with, I do need the balmy blue, and you can see it right there. Drop a dot of water in there. Okay, real light and a lot of water, more than you would think. But what we're going to do is we really want to get this good and wet because that's where we're tearing it. And the reason why I'm using it with the ink is I want it to wash out the sky all the way to the sides. And we go all the way down to where the coastal cabana is. Okay, but I really want to get, I'm getting some more water on my, just another drop in there. I really want this. I'm going to come in like this with my water pen, going around the image of the stamp, the inked image, because I'm going to tear all of that. And it helps. So we are going to start right here, and I am simply going into mimicking where the image is stamped by tearing it there. I can already tell I'm going to need more water. Maybe I shouldn't have tried doing it all at one time. So squeeze, 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 squeeze. There we go. Get that in there. And you don't want to really let it dry. You want to do it while it's wet. Oh, so much easier this time around. Okay. I don't want to ruin my stamping. A little bit more water there. Ease it away. There. Now for this part, we're going to have to get this wet again. And we're simply going to do like so around the edge. All right. Next, we're going to repeat this process. I'm cleaning off my water brush again. using the Coastal Cabana ink. If you push on your ink pads and give them a little squeeze, you'll get a little bit of ink on the lid, and that's what, there we go. Nice and light. Now I'm continuing right here, okay, and I'm brushing my water out. And it's just moving that ink a bit, and we are going to go ahead and tear this. Right, so while it's wet, we're tearing it, and it just works so much easier when it is wet. Really following the line of the stamp. There we have it. Now work to the other side. Gonna get some more, another drop of water coming out. Come on. Let's see if that's going to go. You do want to tear your paper, however, the same way each time, and it does get a little difficult for me on the left because I'm right-handed and just the way the paper is, but it does look better when you do so. So there we have it. I love it. I'm really happy with that. So Coastal Cabana is done for the moment. Giving my water pen a quick clean on my, lot of water. See, I'm just taking it, cleaning my tip out. All right, so that's done. Next we are going to stamp our grasses, okay? So we need our lovely soft suede again. So we're going to do the same thing. We want these grasses kind of high. I kind of started lining the bottom of the stamp up right there. So I'm doing a little off, and then second generation, bringing it down a bit. Oh, I need to do a solid ice stamped off where I shouldn't have, so we're going to go back this way. That makes it work. Now stamp off completely and bring it there. Now we're done with it. Now we're done with soft suede completely. And we're bringing in our wee little grasses with Pear Pizzazz. And we are gonna stamp off, do 2 stamped off, and then 1 full strength in the middle. And then here we are just mimicking where the grasses are in here, and I bring it up a little bit, getting some color right above the sand dune. So we're going to add that one, stamp off, add another here, and stamp off. Now we do have our rocks, which were stamped in, let me move these and the gray granite because I've already done this part. Our rocks here, like so, okay? And these were stamped in gray granite on a scrap piece of white. Now, I told you we would be using a few of these. If you've seen some of my earlier videos, you know I love to do a little bit of dimensionalizing with scraps of paper. And that is what we're doing. Let me see if I can show you. Here, I wanted this raised a little. Ooh, I forgot about this one. We're going to do the same on this one too. Just giving it a little bit. And this one is also using the scrap paper. So we got to start with this one. No, this one first. This one is glued down completely. Yes. Large boulder glued down completely. Just like we did on the first one. I think we're going to bring it down just a wee bit. So there we have. That one's glued down completely. Now, you want a line of glue going just at the bottom here. We're going to take some of our scrap that we just did and lay it down. And we're going to add some more. Like so. Next, we turn it over. Make sure none of it is showing. And you may not be able to tell on camera that it's been raised, but you can on the paper in person. So I'm just adding glue there. And this one is coming like so. And you'll see here, okay. Now this one, I think we're going to move this. Yeah, this one is over here. And this will be hanging off a bit, but we're going to be using this one that's dry. We're going to do the same thing. We're going to do it down. We're going to put a strip here, and we're going to double it. You just can tear it like so. Put another strip of it right there. Yes, you could use your dimensionals, but dimensionals are much thicker than this, and I didn't want it to be super thick. I wanted it thin. Just a little bump up, because I am putting the rest of it on dimensionals, the main part of it. So there you have it. Just that little line, those little pieces that we tore off. Putting some glue on it. And there you have it. Now I do realize we're going to have to add some more. Well, maybe not. I think that will work. So there, it's starting to take shape. Next, this is where it gets interesting. Next, we add this like so. Okay. And we're using our water pen again. And I'm going to show you something I do. I keep a jar of water in my room. I'll show you how to do it. I'll actually use a paintbrush. So if you don't have a water pen, let me put a lid on this and grab a paintbrush. Little cheap old paintbrush, right? Let's move my Stampin' Pierce mat out of the way. All of that out of the way. We'll even move this. Okay, I'm laying this down. I'm not gluing it down. I'm just laying it down as a guide. Take a little bit of water and a paintbrush. Now I'm going to mimic the edges of my paper. Like so. See that? And I want this good and wet. And this is from the dollar store. No big. Okay. And then I'm going to do a line here. Getting it good and wet, and let's see if how it tears now. I'm going to start with the bottom. It could have soaked in or had more, but we'll work with it just to get it out of the way. And now this, and this is going to come apart much more because I put much more water on it, and it got a chance to soak in. If it's not coming away and giving you this fuzzy edge like you like, add more water, like I'm going to do right now. Add some more water. Okay, and then it should just simply tear. Add more water. It will dry. So what the great thing about Stampin' Up's paper is the color is solid throughout the whole paper. Some paper, when you do something like this, it is white in the center, but Stampin' Up's paper is solid color throughout the entire paper. So wipe that off now. You can start seeing how we followed our edges. This is going to need some more down here. But we got rid of quite a bit of what we didn't want. So we're going to have to add some and tear that. Okay. Come on, work with me, not against me. There, that will do. Next, we're going to work on this side, putting that where I basically will be gluing it down. Lots of water for easy tearing. Really want it to soak in there. And this is where I did a little too much, so, but I know that I want my water. Make a big indentation in my paper right there. Okay, so I'm going to go over it a little bit more, letting that water soak in. Now, let's go ahead and start tearing it. Oh yeah, it is working. If I had nails, it would probably go easier. Having so little to tear really doesn't make it useful, but it will work. And hopefully I can come right in here. Nope, I need some more water in there. Okay, add some more. Because I want to really get in there. Oh yeah, I love it. Okay. Next, let's line it back up where we're going to have it. Love that look. And we're going to simply run a line of water at the top. And like I said, it won't ruin the paper. It's just going to make the fibers easier for us to tear. But if you let it dry, the paper is going to be just the same. It's going to be great. So, pulling all that paper we don't want off. And there we have it. My little pickle jar I use for water in my stamp room. There you have it, using a little old paintbrush if you don't have a water pen. You can do everything I just did with my water pen with the paper. So now this is going to go up on dimensionals, not glued down, dimensionals. That's why this is not using dimensionals on the front, because we're going to have this double done. 2 layers of dimensionals. So let's get some out here and put them on the back of our stamped image. There's 1. Oh, 3. I can't pick up hardly any of them because I don't have no fingernails. Let's see, from there. 1 up in that corner. Am I using too many? I might say that. Stack down, not on me. Yeah, we can go ahead and do there. And we'll do 1 there. We'll do 1 in the middle. I'm just having a good time. Okay. Enough dimensionals, Alice. We're going to have plenty more. Alright, so here is our torn image. And this is going to line up. Not perfectly, because it's a rough image looking. But there we have it. Isn't that cool looking? Okay, let me move this stuff into... Okay, these go into the recycle bin. Those little white backings do not go in the recycle bin. So, these go into a different little waste paper basket I have. So, next comes our... Ta-da! And this is my little note on here. It says cut down to 4 3/4 by 3 3/4. So I need my mini little guillotine. Yikes. So we want to cut this to cut down to 4 3/4, which I have to use. You ready for this? Let's get a ruler so I know where to cut, because I'm not going to bring out my big cutter. It doesn't matter which end of it's going to be cut off. So 3, I'm making, are we sure that's what I want it to be cut at? I said 4 3/4, so which is right here. And then this way, it's 3 3/4. So, yep, that's right. I was just looking at it, making sure. Sometimes I second guess my math skills. And I have good reason to do so, because my math skills need work. So cut that strip off. And where? Oh, great. I'm so smart. There's my mark. Okay, give me a second. Line this up on my glass mat. I should have cut it this way first. I'm having to buy a new guillotine cutter because this arm just doesn't cut straight. There's a gap up there. It's old. So I'm keeping those for you never know what. Now, there are 2 ways to do this. If you have an old pair of snips, you can open them up like this using that piece, the very center up there, or the edge. You can rough this up like so. However, Stampin'Up once sold these little tools, and this is not sure what it's called, but I love it because I just hold it firmly like this, and it really does a great job of ruffling the edges. So you can get the same look with the scissors. Scissors might take just a little bit longer, or if you have one of these little, I'm not sure what it was called. Never get rid of this tool. Using little flying bits of paper. And then we'll be using a sponge dauber to darken the edges. Okay, I am leaving it square, but we are going to be bringing in Coastal Cabana and our scratch paper. That's balmy blue. That's green. Where is my Coastal Cabana? Well, I guess this is going to do for Coastal Cabana. So what I'm doing is taking my sponge dauber, beaking it up, and going along the edge. Oh, this is going to be really dark. That's why I started adding a little too much, but that's okay. Everyone is going to be a little different. I didn't want it quite this dark, but we're going with the darkness. Then we're going to blend it in. You could have used a blending brush, yes. But I really wanted to get into the edge of where I tore the paper. Now, we're going to come in like this because I'm not sure how much needs to be done. But I'm coming in a bit. Alrighty. You can see I got little bits of paper from my sponge daubing the edges on my pad. So let's clean that off for a minute. Alright, and this, my friends, is going to get glued down like so. However, I use tear and tape because it's, actually, because if this is bumpy like this, I wanted it to be secure. So, 3 little pieces of tear tape. You can use a bone folder, the handle of some scissors. Sometimes I don't do that at all, but let's do it just for today. And removing it. That's why you rub on it. Okay. This, not recyclable. So it's different bin. And then we simply place that like so. We will put dimensionals on the back, though we're not ready to adhere it. Don't need quite so many as the main one, because it's quite a study with all the others on it. Removing those. A lot of times I just brush these little pieces onto the floor, because then when I sweep it up, it goes into the rubbish bin, not the recycle bin. Okay, so let's set this aside for the moment, because now we need this balmy blue, and we're going to go ahead and do it in Coastal Cabana, but not so dark. So we're going to take the Coastal Cabana and go around the edges. Okay, it's going to highlight the embossing. The little bubbles is what I liked so much, and just little swirls. Little swirls. Swirl, swirl, swirl. If you live in Western Washington, near Belfair, Bremerton, or Port Orchard, come to some of my classes. Look me up on the Stampin' Up! Demonstrator website. I just redid my calendar. It's going to be pretty stable. June will be a little hard because I'll be moving my aunt from Western Washington over here and getting her settled. There we have it. Now we are ready to adhere our Coastal Cabana, and it is embossed the same as the balmy blue. Now, oh, we forgot to stamp our birdies. That is going to be interesting, isn't it? I really want them up there though. All right, here we go. Let's see how this works. Now, checking my birds for halos. And we're just going to lightly plop them there. I'd have to go in with the little pen and fix that little bird there. I shall do that later. Okay, finishing touches. Are you ready? We need the Wink Stella for the water. And I simply colored just the water because I wanted it to, and I didn't do the grasses, I did in between them in areas, just so they still had sparkle and shine. A whole bunch of Wink Stella right there. Okay. Really sparkly, and let's do the sand of the beach down here, that little bit. Okay, so we did that. Now let's do our twine, and I'll show you how I did. This is 13 inches of twine. I made a slip knot, like you would for crocheting, and I used my index finger for the loop, okay, like so. And then I'm going to have it, I'll show you the original. See how that, I kind of have this nestled right into that little nook. And so I know I want a little knot right here. So we're going to put a knot in the twine. And yes, this card would cost extra postage, one of the butterfly stamps. Okay, so I know that goes like so right there. And then this one I had coming in like so. So that gave me this. And there's my 2 knots. And this is just very cheap jute from the hardware store. Just happened to be out. That is recyclable, the scraps. Next, we need a couple of glue dots. Actually, I think we're going to need 3 of them exactly. But let's see. Paper pumpkin. Okay. First one, we're plopping right down in that crevice to hold our knot. That aside. There you have it. The next one, you ready? It is actually, we have to get it off of that, and I like to use my fingernail. Pop that off. Take my glue dot up, and I'm sticking it, that's why this was not glued down all the way, right there at the top. And I'm taking it, then my jute gets stuck to that one. And then I glue another one underneath it. Can you see what I'm doing? That glue dot right there. Okay. It's okay that it's bending because it's all getting glued down there. Our next one, this glue dot is going to go right in there. And I'm going to do the same thing with my fingernail. You can see how it lifts up wonderfully. Pick up my glue dot and I'm sticking it right there. Ah, didn't want the paper there to stick to the glue dot. Do not stick to the glue dot. Okay, new glue dot time. That did not. Let's try another one. Fingernail. Pick up glue dot like so. And we'll go right underneath it so it doesn't get in there. And this one, we're going to bow it a little bit and stick like so. Ah, and looky, our card is gorgeous. Unique, different, lots of layers. So, that's my original. Simple and stunning. At least in my opinion. So let's do our envelopes to match these beautiful cards. And what we're doing is we have the seashell, which I placed, oh, here it is. We're using the Love You to the Beach and Back. First, we're going to stamp the seashell in soft suede. So when we're closing the flap like a seal. So let's do both of those while we have it out. There we go. And a little bit of ink there. I need to be more careful. We're not done with soft suede. So, but we need to come in with my Coastal Cabana. No, it's Balmy Blue that we're going to use. And our sky image. Okay, and Balmy Blue ink. We're going to add a little bit of sky down here in the corner like so. Not all of it, just a bit of it. There's one. Don't want to set that on anything and get it going, so move away so I can get in here. Let's see, there we have it. Okay. Next, we are closing up the Balmy Blue before I lay some of my stuff in it. And we are stamping Love You to the Beach and Back. Right there. There's one. Can you even see it? There's two. And we are done with soft suede. Let's close that up before something happens to it. And we're bringing back our little birds. And we're simply going to stamp them like so, like so. And we are completely now done. I'm just going to move a few things aside, get rid of my scratch paper, and show you our lovely, lovely projects. So, beautiful envelope, beautiful inside of our card. Simple. and stunning. Need to fix my birds. Yeah, I should have stamped them. Well, it wasn't glued on. But there you have it. Simple to Stunning, series number 1. And I really hope you enjoyed this video. I know it's a bit long, but please give me a thumbs up, comment, and I'll see you again in Allie's Wonderland Creations. Bye now.